As a coach, you don't count years, you count seasons. And this past January, I just entered my 34th season as a coach. What is a coach? A coach is a teacher. When I went from being a high school coach for 16 years, I was a high school coach for 16 years. I coached football, track, strength and conditioning, taught American history and U.S. government. And then for the past 18 years, I've been a college coach. Started out at FIU, made the journey to Marshall University, went out to Oregon, and then was able to come back home to the University of Miami. And oftentimes I get the question, do you miss teaching? And I always say, well, what do you think a coach is? A coach is a teacher. My subject happens to be offensive line play now. I have a classroom. It's our offensive line meeting room at the University of Miami. Okay, I have a lab. It's the Green Tree practice field. I grade them, I critique them, just like a teacher does. I think oftentimes we call someone a coach, but a coach is a teacher. It's an educator. It's the same thing. You're educating them on a subject matter, and you're educating them on how certain things they should do in their life. I became a teacher. I became a coach because of my teachers and because of my coaches. All right, my teachers and my coaches impacted me as a learner. Okay, and to this day, I am constantly seeking a better way, and I'm constantly seeking new knowledge and new techniques, fundamentals, avenues, so I can make those that I am in charge of, so I can make them into better players, into better people. Okay? And also, the most important thing that impacted me when I was in high school from my teachers and my coaches was that they instilled in me belief. Belief in me as a person. They believed in me, thus I believed in myself. The greatest gift that a teacher, a coach can give a student or a player is the gift of belief, that you believe in them. It's empowering. My job, my goal is to help my players attain their goals by instilling knowledge in them, by instilling discipline in them, by instilling a standard to help them attain the goals that they claim they want to attain. And a lot of times that is tough, and you have to confront and demand them that they have to act and they have to do things a certain way if you want to accomplish what you claim you want to accomplish. And that's our job as coaches. It's really easy as a parent. It's really easy as a coach. It's really easy as a teacher to look the other way, because that takes no energy. It takes no discipline, okay? But you have to confront and demand in order for those young men to be able to achieve and attain what they claim they want to achieve and attain. John Wooden, right? John Wooden, legendary coach, basketball coach, said this. He said, "It's what you learn after you know everything that counts." And I've always taken that approach as a teacher. What else can I learn? I don't have anything figured out. What else can I learn? I know a lot of you in here probably go to football games. All right? Some of you might have done this yourself, but I'm sure at a game you've heard someone yell, all right, block somebody. All right? You hear it like if it's easy, you know, you might have been the one yelling. You might yell it at home. Well, let me tell you what an offensive line coach, which is what I do, let me tell you what an offensive line coach actually does. Okay, an offensive line coach is responsible for doing three things. Number one, he's got to get 5 men to play as one mind. All right, we have a motto in our offensive line room at the University of Miami that says 5 men, 1 mind. In order to be able to do that, okay, we have to have a certain language. So there's a certain communication that takes place that we use at the University of Miami, that at Christopher Columbus High School they use a different communication. At Marshall we use a different communication. But it's what gets the 5 of us to see things, to hear things, to say things, right? And to show things in a certain manner. And it gets those 5 individuals to act as one body and to work in a synchronized manner. Number 2 is we have to run the football, right? Well, what does it mean to run the football? To run the football means that you're going to move a man from point A to point B against his will. Okay? So in order to move a man from point A to point B against his will, you've got to use leverage, you've got to use technique, you've got to use fundamental, you've got to use footwork, right? And there's a lot of brute force involved there as well. So that's the second thing that I got to do as an offensive line coach. Then the third thing as an offensive line coach, everybody likes quarterbacks, right? Well, we got to keep them standing, right? We got to keep them standing. Some way, somehow, I got to stay in between the defender and the quarterback to give the quarterback enough time to find the wide receiver who's running the route to trying to get open. So the next time you say, hey, block somebody, we're trying, okay? So it's kind of what we do, right? Kind of what we do. So we are as coaches, as teachers, we are lifelong learners, okay? And as a lifelong learner, I am constantly in a quest to find a better way for my players to communicate, for my players to be able to run the football, and for my players to be able to pass protect, okay? One of the other things as a teacher, as a coach, that you should always do is you'd always try to seek out and learn from the best, okay? Now, I'm not doing this because I coach at the University of Miami, but as an offensive line coach, the only way that I advocate having my fingers up is if I'm throwing up the U. As an offensive lineman, this is sacrilege. Okay, as an offensive lineman, okay, to have your fingers up it means that your elbows are going to be out and you're not in a powerful position. As an offensive lineman, right, you want to have your thumbs up. I learned this from my wife, opposable thumbs, right? So we can grab, right? So you got your thumbs up, which keeps your elbows in, which is a very, very strong form of the body. Okay, so we're always with our thumbs up. There's a reason why I'm saying this, okay? The other thing is this. I don't know if you know this, but, okay, here are two arms, right? If I use one arm is longer than two. So when we're blocking, okay, you're going to see when we're blocking, we do a lot of things with one arm instead of two arms because, see it? There's one, there's two. I got shorter, if it's possible, but I just got shorter, right? So one arm is longer than two, right? And the reason I'm saying these things is because these are things, philosophies that help our offensive lineman block, and I had the opportunity to learn it from the best, right? And the best in my profession, which is coaching offensive line play, is a gentleman named Jim McNally. Jim McNally is the most impactful and the greatest offensive line coach in the history of the game of football. And that's not my opinion. That is fact. Jim is 80 years old. He's retired. He lives in Buffalo, New York. Okay? He coached in the NFL offensive line for 30 years, coached in college for 15 years, was offensive line coach for 3 Super Bowl teams, right? 2 with the Bengals, 1 with the Giants. Never won one, but got there, right? Coached arguably the greatest offensive lineman in the history of the game of football, right? A guy by the name of Anthony Munoz, okay? And Jim is retired, and I've always studied Jim from afar, okay? But over the course of the past year, since last February, I've been able to develop a friendship with Jim. He's 80 years old. He discovered Twitter. So when he discovered Twitter, I discovered Jim. And we started a friendship that at 2 o'clock today, I'm going to say this, and my wife knows because I confessed to her. She called me. I didn't answer. And when I didn't answer is because Coach McNally was on the phone. And I was telling Coach McNally, he called me and he said, hey, Alex, listen. When you guys run duo, when you run duo, check this out. You should run duo with quarterback follow. I said, I got you, Jim. I said, Jim, but you know, the guy you're talking about following, that's Lamar Jackson. He's pretty good. And he's like, yeah, but it might work for you. But it's someone that I have now been able to link up with, right? And he's helping me, right, continue to grow as a coach, okay? And the greatest thing that I've learned from Coach McNally is this. I'm 53 years old edging towards 54, okay? Towards what I would think is the tail end of my coaching career. And it was reinvigorating to me that here's an 80-year-old former coach, and he's still trying to find a better way to do things. All right? And that sparked me into, man, you ain't done yet now, right? Keep going, right? So you should be a lifelong learner and always try to find the best to learn from. And then the last thing is this, okay? You should always pay it forward. I am the most proud in the profession that there's 130 Division I offensive line coaches, okay? I'm not proud that I'm one of them. I'm proud that 2 of my former players and 2 of my former offensive line graduate assistants are 2 of those 130. One of them is at the University of Oregon by the name of Alik Terry, and the other one's at Western Michigan University by the name of Trevor Mendelson. And I'm more proud of that than I am of anything else that I've done in my career. You should always pay it forward. In closing, I'm going to tell you this. Find your Jim McNally and always pay it forward. Thank you.